If a zombie apocalypse actually arises, what's the first thing you'll do? Story 1. Boats. I'm not waiting for anything out, and I'm not going to hunker down. I'm going to contact my friends, take a whole dock with my friends, and immediately become a strong force on the water. Zombies, as much as we can guess, don't do well in water. If we take a lot of boats and sink others, then nighttime raids are harder to have happen. Travel is easier. Getting larger sailboats to take land trips to gather fuel for our smaller or stronger ones. Raids would be easier, we'd port, be in and out to loot so quickly, and hardly a trail. Story 2, I go to a Menards. For those of you who don't live in the Midwest, it's a regional home improvement chain like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. There are tools and lumber to seal the building off. Menards locations have the back and sides surrounded by a tall wooden gate, so you just have to worry about the front. Gun stores will be overrun by people fighting over weapons, but plenty of tools can be used to kill zombies, from axes to machetes to chainsaws. There's a surprising amount of food in them, and two locations I can think of are across from Walmarts, so it would be a short trip to forage for supplies, or, more likely, trade with whoever has set up camp there. I have put too much thought into my zombie apocalypse plans, and they all fall apart the moment I run out of insulin. Story 3. Let's face it, the immediate chaos is going to shut everything down, and mass dehydration and starvation will run rampant in addition to other diseases and medical conditions. That's all in addition to the spread of zombie infection. We would probably sit down and have a long and hard discussion about whether or not we feel it prudent to continue living. Would probably gather up the animals, meet up with friends, have a one last rager party indoors, open all the doors at the end of the night to let the animals a chance to escape, and then finally go with our selected permanent nighttime potion of choice, whether that's bullets, poison, OD, etc. Let's be honest. Do we really all want to have to suffer through the smell of all of the food in everyone's refrigerators rotting at the same time, coupled with people using the bathroom outside everywhere all the time? It would be a much rougher life than The Walking Dead and similar movies and TV shows portray. Story 4. Lock my wife out of the house. Actually, to all these people saying, I'd go to Costco or I'd go out with my gun and scavenge food, are you forgetting that a lot of other people will be doing the same thing? And as long as if you don't want to share it, will be a bloodbath out and about. Zombies aren't the biggest threat. Why don't you have that food on hand now? Why are you waiting for an apocalypse to get it? There are a ton of emergencies that can happen in real life. Get a large stock of water, dried beans, spam, pasta, and simply learn how to grow potatoes in a bucket. Yeah, it's not the healthiest, but you should be looking to survive for 4 weeks in case there's a disruption of services. And you can't count on the freezer because the power will probably be out. Same thing for water. Don't forget the first aid kit. Story 5. I'd shelter in place for a few weeks or so and wait for the initial chaos and panic to stop. Then I'd hop on my dirt bike or ATV. Using these to be more nimble and easier to get through or around obstacles and not have to stick to a road, and do a short range scout around my current area. Once I do that and see what areas seem safe, I'll map those areas out. Then, very slowly over time, I made some runs to scavenge food and supplies and do some hunting for deer. Once I built up a decent stockpile of food and supplies to make a long trip, I'd load up my ATV into my truck and fit as much supplies as I possibly could into the truck. Then I'd demake for my camp, which is located in a very secluded area in the mountains near me, where there is a cabin and a generator. Stay there for as long as possible with anyone close to me. Then just figure things out from there. Story 6. Listen, I was a big fan of The Walking Dead, and I noticed you could be walking along with no one in sight and no hiding places nearby. Yet somehow those sneaky zombies would appear out of nowhere. And no matter how their bodies had decomposed, they were super strong and had great teeth. I mean, arms and legs were literally falling off. Yet they could run like hell. My solution would be having complete military or police armor gear, riding a dirt bike and carrying a pike and sword. Basically the Mandalorian. Story 7. Funny enough, when I bought my house, I told my wife, this place is perfect against zombies. Board up the back door, destroy the walk up to the front door. Reinforce my fences. I have a 360 view from the top floor. My main floor is not at street level, and my basement has minimal block windows. If they are slow zombies, I could ride it out indefinitely, just picking them off one by one from the windows up top. I'd have to go out and get food and supplies, and that would be tough, but I'm pretty sure I can hold out until winter, when they freeze, to make a go at that. I honestly wouldn't expect people to go crazy on each other and stuff in a slow zombie situation. In fact, unless it was something that instantly turned 70% of the population, biting people to spread a virus is an incredibly slow way to transfer a disease. Story 8. Near where I live, there is a small peninsula that sticks into the sea. It has a half-mile approach road that ends at a sewage work. The whole facility has a fence and two sets of gates. I walked past it a few years ago, and there are solar panels on the building's roofs, as well as one of those mini wind turbines. Before the gates, there's a small jetty with 2 to 3 small boats. It's like a zombie apocalypse base wet dream. Secure, treated sewage as fertilizer. Boats for fishing, solar for power. Just need to solve the water issue. However, I'm sure I could make condensing still. Story 9-1. Assemble the guys. I've got 12 dudes in a group chat that is always active. 75% of that group is strapped to the gills with police and or military experience. The other 25% of us are healthcare, safety response, first responders. Every one of us hunts, fishes, and knows our way around a set of tools. 2, clean out a liquor store, like all the liquor stores I can get to. 3, if it hasn't already been cleaned out, we're hitting the gun shop. 4, Super Walmart is the goal. Get it, claim it. There's enough food and supplies and beer to support a small community for a while. 5, establish ground rules. 6, recognize that this location cannot be permanent. We need a plan to relocate north. Summertime will be deadly in this part of the country once power is gone and fuel to run generators runs out. But for now, hunker down and secure Walmart is the most vital thing. Story 10. I'd become a chainmail-clad Viking. Zombies couldn't bite or claw through chainmail. A sword would decapitate them. They probably wouldn't do well in water, so I'd take a boat to an island and set up shop. From the island, I'd raid settlements along the coast in the night or early mornings. I'd use guns on humans. I'd wear Kevlar over my chainmail for them as well. An informed party always has the advantage over an uninformed party. So a quick raid, stock the boat, set off back to the island until supplies got low, then raid again. Story 11. Fill every tub and sink with water, fill any containers with water if water is unclean, spend the day boiling as much water as possible. Verify foods that can be saved or have a longer shelf life, cook any meats and securely store. Secure your place of living. Be sure you are armed to protect yourself from people, not zombies. Stay home and do not leave. Any family members that reach out recommend the same. If your vehicle is in the open, siphon the gas and keep it stored in case of emergency. Just wait it out. Keep a low profile, and use the time waiting to plan a way out. And future plans, monitor radio and TV stations for any steps being taken for survival and emergency response. Story 12. I've thought about this multiple times, and nobody better steal it from me. Firehouse Subs. If you're not familiar, it is a sandwich place. Founded by firefighters that donates to local fire departments, etc. Well, they always have a bunch of fire equipment on walls, helmets, axes, fire suits, the works. All the things you need to efficiently take down the early stages of the apocalypse. And did I mention this is a sandwich place? Depending on how long power stays up, you could eat this food for weeks. Hopefully all the workers ran off with their own plans or something. Story 13. If it starts, it will start somewhere else, specifically most likely. If I have that grace time, I'm getting books and needs like that, and after, if I don't have that time, I'm packing up my family and going to a friend's house. He inherited a lot of land, basically in the woods. Away from people, farmland, plenty of trees, and a house that is wood burning. He's a firefighter, my partner is an RN, and I'm strong and good at solving problems. We would start a small community. I went to college in the aughts with him during the zombie craze. This has been discussed at length. Story 14. Well, I don't live in a city, just a small village. The store is located a couple of 100 meters from here. I would probably raid that fast for conserves and other useful stuff. Then I would probably wait it out at home. Build weapons, keep an extremely low profile, etc. Maybe kill some zombies in my hood I don't want walking about. I probably use a bat. It's most effective and has reach. Maybe I can build some armor too, out of leather if I can find any. We also have a little hospital here. I would probably raid that too. And a car and petrol, gotta have that. And maybe some company so I don't get lonely. Story 15. Honestly, try to get as far away from civilization as possible, at least for the meantime. Lower population density means lower zombie density. We live in an area where wildfires are the most likely natural disaster, and we've been on pre-evacuation before. As such, we have go bags prepped. Nothing crazy like a bug-out bag or similar. It's not something to embark on some prepper fantasy into the woods with. It's a realistic backpack with the necessities to stay at a hotel or a friend's house for a while, that's all. Anyway, we have bags prepped and a plan ready, so we don't panic if we get an evac notice. Because of this, we're ready to leave at a moment's notice with some basic supplies. Again, not prepped to go survive in the wilderness. Very few people actually are, because doing so is extremely difficult and unrealistic, even if you do have training and have prepared for it, neither of which are the case for us. So my plan is already in place. Just leave. Grab our pre-packed stuff, follow the evac plan, and get out. But instead of going to a friend's house or to a local Marriott or whatever, till we get the all clear to go back to our house, or the field of ashes that used to be our neighborhood, I'd head east, away from the cities, away from major population centers, with a vague primary goal. Get somewhere that still has civilization, but is very low population density. Our chances of finding and being useful to a small town community and integrating with them is basically our only shot at immediate survival, and we'll go from there as best we can. I'd say it's about a 40% chance we make it. Otherwise, we hunker down, which is certain doom. We'd run out of water, run out of food, be all on our own. And there is verifiable data due to the more or less constant state of war the world is in that keep moving means survive, wait and see means die. Hunkering down is a terrible idea unless you somehow magically have a self contained, self sustaining, defensible, inconspicuous bunker. And literally no one has those. The people with the resources for such things are few and far between. The people with the means and who think it's necessary are fewer still. Only alternative left is to try to get help from existing authorities and infrastructure. That is, join the throngs of panicked animals trying to do likewise, choking the roads, crowding around hospitals, fire stations, police stations, libraries, and other public buildings and ad hoc aid stations. These are super spreader events that are going to cause these areas to melt in an inferno of infection and chaos. No thanks. Getting away from all that is the only other option. Even then, chances are slim. Story 16. Fill my bathtub with water before we lose water. Ensure all batteries for tools are charged before the grid is gone. Could be a few weeks, maybe months if I remember correctly. Clear out the neighborhood with a melee weapon and rally. Neighbors shouldn't shoot on sight. Rally the neighbors to cut trees and build walls. We're reasonably close to a major river. That's one avenue of approach cut off. The water is polluted, but something tells me that won't be as much of a problem in 20 years. We do it silent. Keep the crowd from coming our way at all costs. Find a volunteer to make as much noise as possible on a tractor to gather attention, and drive a crowd far away. The volunteer will disengage and return. This is no self-destroy mission. The volunteer has the skills to return alive and will be rewarded for his or her badassery. Those with knowledge on botany will get sowing as we take stock of our provisions. Foraging parties will be sent out on low-risk missions to gather supplies. High-risk missions might involve going into police stations to find rifle suppressors. If you live in a city, you might have heard a pistol go off, but men are rifles loud. I live out in the country, and I hear rifles and shotguns pretty often. It's not scary, people are just practicing or whatever. People have work reasons to use guns in the country. We're too close to a major city. We could do all these things, right? And still, even then, there could just be too many. Story 17:1. Arm myself too. Pack my car with duffel bags of rice and beans, reloading press, fishing equipment, survival gear, and as many ammo parts and live ammo as I can find 3. Steal a good sailboat equipped with a good RO filter, very common for long-range sailboats. 4. Get out of range of land. 5. Radio or satellite, communicate with my loved ones while raiding the beach and sailing up and down the coast. 6. Hopefully find an eye patch during my marauding. Was born and raised on a sailboat. My dad current sails the world retired. We've talked about this over beers at length, and I'm sure he and his wife would be fine. And I live in Florida, so finding a boat to steal shouldn't be terribly hard. I know of a few dozen that fit this bill already. We've talked about what island we'd meet up on, but that's our secret. Story 18. Realistically, I have nothing that will protect me. I'm going to a hardware or sporting goods store, and I'm stocking up on as much survival stuff as possible. I'm going crossbow. Whatever one will yield the best results, with the least amount of training and the most damage. I'm also going to my local house of knives, because they sell actual swords and machetes. Nothing fancy, just good quality steel that's good for stabbing and slashing. As far as armor is concerned, I have no idea. Story 19. Besides the fact that it's biologically impossible, The closest thing would be a fungus taking over humans, or even more realistic civil war. My husband and I would drive back to our home state, collect all our guns, and invest in heavy duty baby harnesses. Also, we would stock up on pre chargeable batteries, a ham radio, flares, and if it got down to an actual zombie apocalypse, we would probably hit a military store and get gear to make us look like people of authority. Although, as ex military, that's very distasteful. Story 20. I mean, how would a realistic zombie virus work? It should work like rabies, but faster and should be airborne. No way there's a virus infection causing a behavioral shift like this, which is not lethal within a few hours or days. Also unlikely that a zombie would run faster than me or would have more physical strength, stamina, or orientation. Under realistic circumstances, we would have a spiced up corona pandemic. Depending on the lethality and infection rate, this would be a 2 year mass dying. Sometimes you would see someone walking disoriented on the street, collapsing after a few hours. Most people will just die in their houses or fall from a window or balcony. The rest is really zombie apocalypse style. Society is barely working. The uninfected are more dangerous. For a movie like Zombie Apocalypse with the Undead, form a group of four. Why four? Transportation is most flexible with four people plus luggage. You can work in pairs and share tasks better. Still, I don't think a crazy zombie outbreak can last longer than 30 days. In 10 days, it gets exponentially worse. 10 days is on peak, 10 days it gets less. No way zombies like this can survive longer. Undead zombies make no sense. Story 21, close and lock doors. If that is done, put garbage bags in the tub and fill with water. Then put garbage bags in boxes and fill with water. Then double bag and fill those with water. Then fill any bottles I can. I live in an apartment building, so after camping out for a bit, I'd break through my neighbor's wall 5 off the floor. End the neighbor zombie. Take their stuff, rinse and repeat, going through floors and ceilings as necessary until the whole building is stripped of resources and I either have a team or all their stuff. After that, break all the ties that hold the fire escape to the building so it falls and make a street level barricade. Move to a neighboring building, clear it. Drop another fire escape barricade, then clear out the street between them. Story 22. Have my wife and son lock themselves in the house with one of my guns and plenty of ammo. Then I would drive first to the local gun store to raid it and get as much ammo and weapons as possible. Then I'm going to the army supply and getting MREs. Then I'm going to any store that doesn't look raided yet, like a CVS, and get as much dried food as possible and attack anyone in my way. Hell, I might even shoot someone with a loaded car in the parking lot and just take it. It's the apocalypse. It's about survival now. Story 23. Zombies are not dangerous. Like, a traditional zombie moves at a shuffle and is incapable of using tools. Anyone with a weapon can take out dozens without trouble. A solid wall with a latching door can hold out dozens effectively indefinitely. There is no real way that even a small modern American military unit could be overwhelmed. Hell, a typical American town has enough guns and ammo to put down every zombie from the neighboring town without trouble. I do not believe that they could get to an unmanageable level. The only real way I could see it being an actual apocalypse would be in the style of The Walking Dead, where there's an underlying virus that can be spread without a bite or scratch. Ideally, one that ends most people directly and also revives them as zombies. And frankly, zombies wouldn't last long. Even assuming they're immune to decay and scavenging, it takes literal energy to animate them. Without sustained food, they will run out of energy and stop moving. So that's what I'm basically assuming. A virus is going around that ends people and reanimates their bodies briefly. Which brings us to the first thing to do. Stay home. I'm not a prepper. I can't survive indefinitely on what I have at home. But I can probably make it a few weeks if I'm careful, and hopefully, by then there aren't many people left spreading the virus. Maybe raid nearby empty homes to stretch longer before trying for town and figuring what to do long term. But I suspect that in a real zombie apocalypse, just sheltering in place is the best bet. Story 24. Well, it depends on the kind of apocalypse. Living rage hordes or walking dead hordes. Smart zombies or dumb but fast zombies. If they are dead, you just need to wait it out until they rot away. Cities will burn, so I will move as far away from fires as I can and wait 3 months before moving elsewhere. Roads collapse because everybody is trying to run away. Unless the government wants to nuke us, then I guess I'll have to risk it and move ASAP. The thing is, brainless hordes that hear a sound and move there are easy to deal with. Just use remote sound. Burning zombies is like burning a wasp nest. Not a good idea, but there is always one moron who does it. Worse, oil stations will burn down and spread fires. I have the sea nearby. I guess I could steal a canoe and swim down the coast. The start is RNG if you are on ground zero. If other countries see their neighbor fall, they have a heads up and the citizens can prepare. Go to ghost cities or small villages high up a mountain. Burn the trees to see the zombies come from afar. Borrow a book on farming and on hunting. If the zombies are dead, I wait for them to rot away. If the zombies are alive, I wait for them to die. If the zombies are smart, yikes. Story 25. I've been waiting for a question like this. I'm a self proclaimed prepper. I always think of doomsday scenarios, mostly natural disasters, though. It depends on where I'd be, but if at work, I imagine this is when things are just beginning, like those scenes in season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead. I'd go home well before shift's over to avoid traffic, and if hit with traffic, I don't care what my boss does or doesn't do. Ask any coworkers if they're headed my way and need a lift. I always have some camping and survival gear in my all-wheel drive SUV, and even some hand-to-hand weapons, knives, maul, hatchet, etc. If hitting too much traffic, I'd probably drive off-road and side roads till I made it home. If stuck in traffic, I have a solid steel grill guard to ram and push other vehicles out of the way if need be to get off the freeway, if the person won't or can't move. I'm assuming chaos is starting with looting and rioting along with people not understanding what is happening exactly and trying to rationalize it. On the home front, my wife probably already knows what to do if it popped off. We have 12 months of food and water with a 25-year shelf life that we literally just bought 2 months ago. I may be on the West Coast and a liberal, but I have my firearms instructor license and plenty of ammo, W/an ammo press. I also used to be a paramedic before I got into a new line of work. And we have plenty of basic medical books, equipment, and supplies. I also have my own seed bank and already grow crops for my family in my backyard. I have some hydroponics experience and equipment, but not for a large scale project or for more than a family of 4.